right here, right now. Week 0 ball, it does matter. We're going to preview the Iowa State versus Kansas State game live from Aviva Stadium in Dublin, Ireland. Shout out to everybody who's sitting here watching. It's the 1%ers. I told y'all we was going to overtime. I'll try to get this done within 15 minutes. But we shall see. You know, it is what it is at the end of the day. So let's talk about it, man. This is one of those games I think we'll look back in November and say, oh, yeah, remember Iowa State and Kansas State in Ireland? It's week 0, but it feels like mid-season stakes because the game could end up shaping the Big 12 championship race. I have high belief, high faith in both of these teams. I really do. Both of these teams can win the Big 12. Let me say that right here, right now. They both can win the Big 12. And I love the rosters for both of these teams. The coaching staffs have built really great systems. So let's go ahead and get into the breakdown of these teams. I'm going to go ahead and pull up my graphic here. Give me a second. Booyah. So like I said, it's live from Aviva Stadium, Dublin, Ireland. This is going to be one of those really good games. I think this is the 4th rendition. Yeah, 4th year in a row that we started in Dublin, Ireland. Because I remember back in 2021, it's where I said the infamous phrase when I was on Real Ones Productions to Jalen that there'll be no champagne shipping in Champagne because I predicted Nebraska to win that game. Illinois certainly won, and you best believe the elite troller Jalen is. He trolled me for a couple of weeks on that. But it is what it is. I enjoy my take. So let's talk more about both of these teams. So Iowa State, I love a lot what they bring to the table. This was if you remember my first pick, this was like mid-spring, right after spring camp. I was like, I think Iowa State's going to win the Big 12. And the more I looked into Baylor, the more I said, no, I can't deny this roster construction. I just can't. So Matt Campbell crew answered the bell last year. They didn't win the Big 12, but they did something that Iowa State has struggled to do. They made the championship game, and they truly competed, and they were right there in the thick of things in this conference. Their run to the championship game, I believe, gave them momentum. And I know a lot of you guys think about Iowa State. You don't even think about the bowl game. You just think about, wow, Arizona State put hands and feet on them. We saw some beatdowns last year, like teams who are physical, like the team in Provo, but teams who aren't traditionally physical, like an Arizona State, just put hands and feet on these teams last year. And that was a Cam Scatterboot game, right? We think about that a lot. But offensively, Taylor Mooser, he runs a supreme balanced attack. Offensive coordinator Taylor Mooser has steadily been crafting an offense that fits his quarterback. Rocco Becht is the real deal at quarterback, and he's up there for the best quarterbacks in the Big 12. And he's got a player who can spread the ball around, but isn't afraid to take these shots. These shots last year, Becht threw for over 3,500 yards, 25 touchdowns, showing he can handle the pressure and elevate this team. Running back Carson Hanser, it's tough inside running element. He had 752 yards last year. 13 touchdowns in 2024. He's going to 100% keep the defense honest. And I know that this team has lost a lot of production at wide receiver, but Chase Sowell is still there. He'll be emerging as the go-to wide receiver. 34 catches, 678 yards, 3 touchdowns a season ago. I like what they have. And then you look on the defensive side of the ball, when we talk about key players to watch, we got Jeremiah Cooper. But, we talk about Taylor Mooser's his balanced attack. He's not afraid on a 2nd or 2. More than likely, they are going to throw something 40 yards down the field. But he's also not afraid to run the ball. But let's talk about this defense. And I really like what this defense brings to the table. And Coach Heacock's 3-3-5 / just like a 3-2-6 flex. And they've been running that defense for a little while now. But I think he's a defense wizard. This 3-3-5 scheme is disguised to handle the pass-happy Big 12. And when needed, he'll slide into that 3-2-6 look to clog the throwing lanes. The key difference is not just sitting back, but he uses exotic pressures to confuse quarterbacks as well. And, we already talked about some of the stars on this defense. Dominique Orange, he's up front. He sets the trenches. Also, Big 12 preseason all-conference member. Jeremiah Cooper and Jontez Williams are ball hawks in the secondary. They were also Big 12, all preseason members as well. They made the all-conference team as well. So defense is living comfortable with chaos, mixing covers, disguising blitzes, forcing quarterbacks like Avery Johnson to hesitate. And before we get to the Kansas State side of things, let's go ahead and look at their schedule. Alrighty, so Iowa State, and I don't think we truly understand the importance of this game, right? So you look at this game, and it'll be a game that we're like, when did this team lose? No matter who wins or loses this game, when did they lose? All the way back in week 0. That's the importance of this game, and we get a heavyweight battle week 0. But they do play Kansas State. That's in Aviva Stadium, live from Dublin, Ireland. We know that that's happening this week. Next week they play South Dakota. After that, they're home versus Iowa. Then they go at Arkansas State. So this game is important because they can really get started this year. Like, I think Arizona will be much improved this year. I haven't given up on Noah Fafita. I have not. But, you know, they have the ability. The Cyhawk game is always going to be a good game. Somebody's going to always win with a walk-off field goal, right? I mean, that's just truly how I feel at this point. But, you know, it's in Ames. So, you know, that's a slight advantage there. So, you know, we start looking at these schedules. It's interesting. Like, this game is almost must win. I mean, they'll handle business versus South Dakota. They'll handle business at Arkansas State. The Arizona game is tough. The Iowa game is tough. Cincinnati will be improved this year. And I truly feel, after speaking with them ACC media days, it'll be tough. Then they go to Boulder, October 11th. They play Colorado. Then they're playing, you know, BYU, October 25th. At home. You know what I'm saying? Then they go play at Arizona State. That'll be a toughest game. A lot of people probably say this is the toughest game on the season. This week 1 game is right up there too. Because it's important. If you can get a Big 12 conference win in week 0, that's huge for your program. After that, November 8th, they play Texas Christian. November 22nd, they'll get a bye. November 15th. November 22nd, they play Kansas. And then they go at Oklahoma State November 29th. So this their schedule, not too shabby. Definitely some winnable games here. But let's say they start off the season 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-0, right? Which would be difficult because they got some games in there. Like the Arizona game, not going to be easy. The Iowa game, the Cyhawk game is always close. And then the Kansas State game, not going to be easy. But they can start the season 6-0. You can really look at the second half of that season and say, hey, this team got an opportunity to really win this conference, right? So I like their schedule a lot. But let's go back to our other graphic as we talk more about Kansas State. All right. So let's get to the Kansas State side of things. I really love what they bring to the table. Team that I predicted to win the conference last year. I was up there. They're in my top 3 teams in the conference this year. I think Arizona State is going to slide a little bit. And I hate to say something like that because I truly do believe in Kenny Dillingham and what he brings there. First day of fall camp, that post-game press conference, if you didn't want to go play for Kenny Dillingham, what is wrong with you, right? But let's talk about Kansas State. Chris Kleeman has made Kansas State one of the toughest programs in the country. But last season, the Wildcats just weren't physical enough in big games. That's been pretty much the off-season emphasis. Get tougher, get nastier up front, and match the physicality of some of these Big 12 elite. Because we watched them get pushed around by BYU like that last year, and I did not like that at all. So let's talk about offensive coordinator Matt Wells and the power spread that he runs. Matt Wells has the pieces to run exactly what he wants. A power spread with multiple running backs. He typically likes a lightning and thunder approach at running back and a quarterback who can also throw the rock and hurt you, scrambling as well. And he has that. Quarterback Avery Johnson is a dual threat dynamo. He put up over 2,700 yards passing last year with 25 touchdowns. I believe he did have 10 interceptions. I like to see him get that down a little bit. But this kid is dynamic, man. The biggest growth for him will be the decision-making, avoiding the turnovers against the Skies defenses like Iowa State. This Iowa State's 3-2-6. A lot of people don't like it because they say, yo, just run the ball like you can do in a video game, right? But it's for offenses like these, especially if Iowa State's able to get a lead and force Kansas State to throw. That 3-2-6 is amazing. It's beautiful. It really is. The running back combo, I really like it with Joe Jackson, who's going to give you like the power and he'll give you a little bit of speed as well. With Dylan Edwards, who's going to all-purpose. When we think Dylan Edwards, we think all-purpose. We remember his first year as a true freshman, Colorado. The game he had versus TCU that first game. Dynamic in the return game, dynamic in the screen game. Also played well, running rock as well. Wide receiver. This wide receivers room not too shabby. I think Jayce Brown clearly number 1, right? After his 823-yard season a year ago. Jerrand Bradley didn't work out in Chestnut Hill. Just didn't work out at BC. Last couple years at Texas Tech were horrible. Well, his last year specifically was horrible. Because he had a year, I think it was after his freshman year, redshirt freshman year. He was dynamic, and I had him in my top 10 wide receivers heading into the next season. Just didn't translate. But he's familiar with playing in the Big 12, knows how to win in the Big 12. And I think if he uses his frame properly like he did a few seasons ago, this could be a nice pairing with Jayce Brown, Jerrand Bradley, and the ability to use Dylan Edwards at different spots. They could put him in the slot, use him in the passing game, out of the backfield as well. I like what this Matt Wells coach offense is going to be able to do this season. But the key is going to be controlling the line of scrimmage, and this offense can roll if they are able to do that. Joe Klinderman's, his multiple fronts on defense is what we're looking at when we're looking at Kansas State. He will mix in a 3-man look from time to time, and historically, at least over the last decade or so, that's what Kansas State like to do. But More recently, he's like the four-man fronts, but he loves that 4-2-5 and loves to play that cover 3 out of the 4-2-5. They like to keep everything in front of them. It's a bend, don't break defense. It's 100%. They won't like that verbiage. They won't like that term. But if they can play physical, they can get out of that bend, don't break element. But they're not trying to give up a lot of big plays. I think that's why a team like BYU was able to beat them physically last year, because they don't give up a lot of big plays. That's just their mantra. But the key leader defensively is linebacker Austin Romaine. He's a preseason All Big 12 pick, and he'll definitely try to set the tone in his Joe Klanderman defense. I like what both of these teams like to offer. That's why I like to give you guys the X's and O's aspect of it. What to expect from the offense, what to expect from the defense, not just from a Jimmy's and Joe's perspective, but from a schematic perspective. I've already told you some of the players to watch. We're going to go over them again. Rocco Becht on the offense, 3,500 yards, 25 touchdowns, 2024. Carson Hanser for Iowa State had 752 yards, 13 touchdowns. Chase Sowell is a guy at wideout, 678 yards, 3 touchdowns. Jerrand Bradley, preseason All Big 12 for Kansas State. We're looking at Avery Johnson, 27-12 yards last year, 25 touchdowns. 2024, Dylan Edwards rushed for 546 yards, 5 touchdowns. He'll get more carries this year, so I expect those numbers to go up a lot. But he's also dynamic as an all-purpose back as well. Jayce Brown is the guy at wideout, and we already talked about Austin Romaine. This is going to be a really big game. And why this game matters is because this isn't just week 0 hype. This game could decide tiebreakers for the Big 12 title. We saw how jumbled up and close it was last year. Like, before Colorado lost to Kansas, I was like, oh, Colorado about to be in the Big 12 championship. And I was extremely happy about it. I really was. But, before we get into my final take, and I'm talking right now about why this game matters, let's, for a second, look at their schedule. Alrighty, so we look at this Kansas State schedule, and I'm just truly trying to show you guys why this game is so important. So, of course, they play Aviva Stadium, Dublin, Ireland this week, week 0. Then they play versus North Dakota. That will not be a pushover game at all. Army. Then they play at Arizona, Central Florida, then at Baylor. So this is another team with an opportunity. If they can win this game, they can run off some wins. And then you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-0 before you go at Waco, which is going to be one heck of a ball game. And then it's another team, the backside of their schedule. It's tough, because I think Texas Christian's going to be much improved. They play them on October 11th. They're going to be much improved. And then going into Lawrence, it's always difficult to get a win if they can stay healthy, that is, for Kansas, not Kansas State. Texas Tech, they spent money this year. They have the roster. The roster is there. That's going to be a tough game. At Oklahoma State, they'll be gritty. I just don't think they have the roster this year. At Utah, I'm seeing more and more people. Bud Elliott had Utah as his Big 12 pick. My boy CFB Moon had Utah as his Big 12 pick. So you got to like what Utah bring from a physicality perspective. And if you're around Devin Dampier just for 2 minutes, like I was at Big 12 Media Days, he has that infectious energy, and I promise you, he's confident. And then they play Boulder the last week of the season. So I think the top 3 teams in this conference, let's just say the top 4 teams, the teams I think they're going to be battling, we got Arizona State, Kansas State, Iowa State, right? And of course Baylor, and the team I'm high on. And then you got that second tier of teams, but a lot of people are high on Utah. So let's get back to the other one. Boom. So let's talk about the importance of this game. I went over both of these schedules for both of these teams because I wanted to kind of build up to why I think this game is so important. And I almost want to say in week 0, this is a must-win game. Like, it isn't end-all be-all if, either one of these programs lose, and someone will lose because someone has to lose, but I think this game is very important. Both teams have quarterbacks capable of winning the league. Both defenses are led by coordinators who know how to create chaos. Whoever wins here takes momentum into a Big 12 conference play. You're already number 1 in your conference because it's a Big 12 game. So here's my final take. This is one of the hardest games for me to pick. Kansas State has, I think more explosive backfield. Avery Johnson truly gives you that wow factor. But Iowa State, to me, is who I trust more. I think Rocco Becht will make one more play than Avery Johnson in this game. I think it'll be a close game. I think the over-under is, 49.5? We could get fireworks in this game like we did with Northwestern and Nebraska a couple seasons ago. It'll definitely be different from the Georgia Tech Florida State game we got, last year in Dublin, Ireland. But give me Iowa State to win this game. And it was difficult because I really wanted to go Kansas. But, yeah, give me them to win this game. We appreciate you checking out this video. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe. And also, don't forget to check out the other content that we have here, there, and everywhere. Governor College Football for the 1%ers.